emotional permanence. Let's take a look at this concept, emotional permanence. I did a video on this recently, this concept of emotional permanence. So what really is emotional permanence? So if you have emotional permanence, it means that you have the ability to see emotions as being stable, particularly the feelings and emotional states of other people, as well as your feeling and emotional state. The reason why this becomes necessary to do is because we may struggle with feeling like people are not going to leave us, people are not going to abandon us, people love us, people still feel the same way about us. So if we struggle with emotional permanence, what happens is at very slight changes and provocations, we're immediate to jump to negative conclusions, right? So maybe your friend hasn't been reaching out as much as they used to. So with the lack of emotional permanence, we go, okay, obviously this is it. This is the end of the friendship. They don't like me anymore. Obviously, I must have done something wrong. They probably hate me, right? Um, you may feel that way about your relationships with your coworkers or your boss at work or your clients, but especially in the family, this is really common to feel like you need constant reassurance and validation. And maybe you're one of those people who's always asking your mate, "Do you love me? Do you love me? Are you sure? Are you sure? You're not cheating. You're not this. You're not that." And what we're looking for is that permanence, but we lack the permanence in ourselves, meaning that it's really up to us to maintain the sense of permanence. It's not necessary for the other people to keep reassuring you all the time that they still feel the same way they felt 10 minutes ago. Good way to illustrate emotional permanence is with object permanence. So you take an object like this pen, and if a person lacks object permanence, that means when they can't see the pen, they suddenly believe it's not there. Oh no, what happened to the pen? But that would be a developmental delay, right? Because only a small child, like a baby or a toddler, would lack that level of emotional object permanence. They would recognize that even if I can't see it, it's probably still there. It's probably just like under the thing. Like, oh, where's the pen? Oh, it must not be a pen anymore. And so silly as that may seem, that's what you guys are doing with emotions if you lack emotional permanence. The person loves you and they commit to you and they're in the relationship with you, and then they leave for work or they're just having a bad day and they're not reaching out as much or they're being a little distant and you're like, what happened to the love? You don't love me anymore? It's like you suddenly can't see it and you don't believe it's there. So, oh, and now you're reaching out to them to reassure you of their emotions. And it's actually your responsibility to be able to maintain a steady sense of where you're at with the person and where that person is at, instead of jumping to the conclusion that they're going to abandon you. Easier said than done? Well, yeah, for trauma survivors and those with borderline personality disorder, this is difficult because they've had past experiences where their emotions, the emotions of the people around them change suddenly. And the way that they view emotions and feelings has been shaped by their trauma. And so a person with borderline, for instance, has intense, rapid changing emotions that make it hard to maintain a stable sense of their own emotional continuity. So when we talk about our own emotional continuity, our own emotional permanence, that means that we have the ability to maintain a solid, steady, generally steady emotional state. Did you know that you're supposed to have a steady emotional state? You're supposed to have a steady emotional state, something like peace, confidence, serenity, calm. Feels good just thinking about it, doesn't it? Now imagine if you thought like that all the time. And that's what we really want to strive for. We want to be able to have an emotional state that's generally permanent. Of course, you're going to feel emotions as you perceive different things because all of our emotions hinge on our perceptions. But You will be able to readjust those perceptions as you go in real time to bring you back to your baseline. And when you have a steady positive baseline, then you have that emotional permanence for yourself. But people with CPTSD, because of the repeated trauma over time, it disrupts their ability to regulate their emotions and to form secure attachments. So, what can they do? Well, that's what we're going to talk about here today. Well, a person with complex trauma can feel difficulty in trusting their emotions. They feel difficulty in trusting other people's emotions that were once expressed. They don't believe that those emotions will stay stable over time. And that makes it challenging to hold on to the sense that people's emotions are lasting or consistent, especially in the face of stress or relational challenges. All right. So it's common for trauma survivors to default to the negative. Actually, it's common for all humans to default to the negative. And it makes sense, right? If you're in a garden or a forest, let's take a beautiful garden, right? A botanical garden, but you got a spider right here hanging from a tree. You can't stop thinking about the spider in the tree. Your mind goes, there's a spider in the tree, there's a spider in the tree, there's a spider, there's a spider. Oh God. You take your eye off of it for a minute, but in your mind, you're going, there's a spider there, but there's a spider there. What you're doing is you're focusing on the negative because the negative represents the danger. And focusing on the danger intuitively is how we keep ourselves safe. Focusing on the danger is intuitively how we keep ourselves safe. However, I want you to become more than your intuition, which is bias, prejudice. It's automatic response. Intuition is formulating an opinion or a decision without having all the information based on just the feeling sometimes. It can be good, but I want you to learn to be more than just your intuition because you're not just an instincts being, but you have the ability to be conscious, to form conscious thoughts and to develop conscious conclusions. So we need to control the focus and be able to enjoy the garden without just focusing on the negative. In this case, an imaginary spider. It's even worse, right? If a person were looking at that garden and then they say, there's probably a spider somewhere, there's probably a spider somewhere, there's probably, you see the problem there? Like, yeah, there probably is a spider somewhere, but your focus on that is making it so you can't enjoy this garden. And it's really not a present danger. And that's what happens when we're in trauma mode, as many of us are as complex trauma survivors. We're focusing on the imaginary spider. They probably don't love me anymore. They probably don't like me anymore. They probably hate me. All right. Remember last week, just in our discussion, someone said that they're imagining that I probably hate them. That would be an example of focusing on the imaginary spider. It's not even there. We're just picking a negative thought, a negative concept, and then we're allowing our emotional state to hinge on the negative concept that we created. That's going to hold us back. So instead of defaulting to negative interpretations, relying on our past experiences, allowing that to cause us to expect harm and rejection, we need to learn to control our perception to be able to maintain a sense of emotional permanence. How can we do this? One of the ways is by creating a more compassionate, constructive internal dialogue that focuses on healing and growth. We want to create a more compassionate and constructive internal dialogue that focuses. What does that mean? That means talk to yourself in a way that you would speak to a child in your brain. When you speak to you, talk to yourself nicely. For instance, let's take a relationship. Okay, my friend hasn't called me back. They must not care about me. Lack of emotional permanence, immature. So instead of that, try affirming yourself. We've had good times together, and our friendship has had its ups and downs, but it has endured over time. You see how we did that? Instead of creating an imaginary spider, they haven't called me back, so that must mean they don't care about me. We instead, we didn't create like something falsely positive. We found a positive to focus on. We found a positive to focus on. In this way, rather than just having a positive affirmation, which is good, we learn to affirm the positive. Rather than just having a positive affirmation, we learn to affirm the positive. Does that make sense? So instead of my friend hasn't called me back, so they must not care about me, we go, well, you know what? We've had some good times together. Our friendship's been through ups and downs. And so probably we're going to get through this as well. It has endured over time. I appreciate this friendship. It's endured for a long time. I'm grateful to have a friend. Does that make sense? At work, instead of saying when you face criticism at work, instead of saying, oh, I'm not good enough, or obviously there's no point on me being here because nobody wants me. Instead, we want to say, I've received positive feedback in the past, and I have skills that are valuable here. I have skills that are valued here. A lot of people have given me positive feedback. So I know a lot of people actually want me to be here and they appreciate me being here. Does that make sense? In this way, we're creating a positive frame and allowing ourselves to maintain a sense of emotional permanence instead of just defaulting to the negative, the worst case scenario, creating an imaginary spider. Family dynamics. Let's give another example. If you're feeling neglected by your family, instead of, oh, my family doesn't care about me, consider my family shows care in different ways that I can appreciate the small gestures of support. Or I know that deep down inside, they do care. Better than the positive affirmation, we're finding positivity to affirm. We're affirming the positive. You're finding the positivity to affirm. When it comes to your self-perception, instead of, oh, I'm such an idiot, I'm always making mistakes, you go, I'm growing. I've learned and grown from my past. I have strengths that I can rely on. I'm growing. I'm a work in progress. I tend to think I'm getting better than I was. Does that make sense? Instead of, I can't handle my emotions. I can't handle my emotions. Let's look for the positive to affirm. I've faced challenges before and I found ways to cope. My emotional strength has helped me through. I've been through hard stuff before, sometimes harder than whatever it is I'm going through right now. And I've overcome. So I have evidence, and then I'm finding the evidence to support that positive. In this way, I'm creating a new belief. Yeah, there was that one time where I overcame that thing at work, and that one time I had that financial difficulty and I overcame that, and that one time where I was having the spiritual difficulty and I overcame that, and that one time those people were bullying me and I overcame that. And by the time you hype yourself up with all the evidence to the positive thought, now you've got something better than just a affirmation of positivity. You've affirmed the positive that does exist. Yes, using logic, you've given yourself a better emotion. You see the strategy in this? What if you fear abandonment? Well, instead of people always leave me, try, I've faced challenges before and I've grown stronger. I've learned to cope through difficult situations. Try, people come and people go, but I remain permanent. Every relationship brings its pros and cons. I've learned from each one. I'm grateful for the moments I have. That's how I feel. That's how I feel, right? Rachel comes on here. She's early. She's co-hosting and moderating, right? I don't want to lose Rachel. But do you think I'm up at night like, oh no, what if I lose her? No, no, no. I'm focused on, man, I'm grateful for what I get. I'm grateful for what I get. Whatever I'm receiving, whatever I'm getting, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for what she's doing. I'm grateful for the relationship. Does that make sense? And then I don't have to have the fear of abandonment because I'm too busy in gratitude, which allows me to be a better receiver in the meantime. And she's giving me the reassurance that she's here, which I appreciate. But what's great is they don't even need the reassurance. I don't have to rely on the reassurance from the other person because I'm reassuring me. I'm going to be okay either way, but I'm grateful that she's here now. See that? It's up to us to create the, what do they call that? A secure attachment. It's up to us to create the secure, not the other person. Hey, listen, I'm not securely attached, so I'm going to need you to make me secure. So I need access to your phone. I need to know your whereabouts at all time. Get your iCloud on so that I can follow you around the world. I need to know where you are, when you're not, and then you need to be texting me. And then when you, right, we're going through all of these loops trying to make ourselves secure. Does that really make you secure? No, you're checking your phone every 10 minutes. Tracking someone's location is exhausting. You have no time for yourself. It's not realistic. It's not realistic. So we create the secure attachment by deciding within ourselves, I'll take what I'm getting. I appreciate what I receive. And if there comes a time where I'm not receiving that anymore, sarah, sarah. It'll be what it'll be, right? I will be able to get through that because I've gotten through things before. When it comes to your support network, fear of abandonment says, oh, everyone's going to leave me. I'm not going to have anyone, or I have a lack of people. I don't have enough people. Instead of finding the positive to affirm, I have people in my life that care about me and I can rely on them for support. Even if you don't have people, I believe that the people that I would reach out to would be there for me. I honestly believe that the strangers in my neighborhood, in my building, I believe if I needed help, they would help me. Why would I not believe that? Realistically, that's probably true. Like if I came to them for help, they'd probably help. And it's not beneficial for me to believe otherwise. So there, just that simple. I'm responsible for my own secure attachment instead of focusing on what I don't have. I don't have enough people that are supporting me. I don't have enough people that I can call. I don't have anyone. I have no one. Your void gets bigger and bigger when you keep pouring all that focus and energy into it. So we need to find the positive to affirm. Instead of this relationship will probably just end like all the others. We say, this relationship has its own unique strengths, and we're working together to build a lasting connection. Whatever happens in this relationship, I'll be okay. I remain permanent till the day I expire. My relationship with God remains permanent. We find the positive, and we affirm the positive. Instead of, I'm not worth staying for. No, I bring value to my relationships. I deserve love and commitment. A person would be blessed to have me. And I'm determined to be a blessing, focusing on what we control. Instead of, I can't handle being alone. We should try, I have interests, I have passions, I have purpose. I know how to fulfill myself. I can enjoy my own company. Solitude's not a bad thing. It's a temporary state, and I'll make the most of it. I'll make the most of it. Is this stuff making sense, guys? So whatever you're dealing with that's making you feel like I can't have a sense of emotional permanence over my own emotions, over the other person's emotions. It's important for us to take responsibility and jump in and really affirm the positive. We have to affirm the positive. Someone said, can you repeat the affirmations? It's not about having positive affirmations. It's about finding the positive to affirm. So your job is to analyze like a sleuth, like a gumshoe. What is in my reality that is a positive that I can affirm for myself? I need to find the positive, and then I need to find the evidence to support the positive. Does that make sense? It's not about the specific wording that I use. The examples are to help you to learn how to do this yourself, wherever you are. So whether you have your notebook or not, you have to be able to do this for yourself, because this is not about repeating affirmations. I suspect your brain will reject positive affirmations that it doesn't believe, that are set up for failure. For instance, I had a client, and she later actually became a coach, but she had this affirmation that used to bother me. I eventually told her about it. She said, she was, everything in the universe will work for me, she would say. Everything in the no, everything in the universe is working for me, she said. Everything in the universe is working for me, like on my behalf, for my benefit. Okay, it's a positive affirmation. It's very positive. I like the positivity of the affirmation. However, what bothers me about it is it's not only untrue, but it's bound to get shattered. Does that make sense? You, so she's setting herself up with something that is bound to be shattered, because the universe is not working for anybody specifically. It's not on your payroll. I'll tell you that right now. We actually have to struggle against the universe, or against some elements of the universe, in order to reach a place of peace and harmony. Ironically, you actually have to struggle against, push against some of the forces. Ironically, right? So it's not that the universe is working for me. So we had to kind of restructure, and I helped her to restructure to a more equally a beneficial one that's not going to get shattered, such as I focus on what I control in the universe, or there are some things in the universe that I can control, that I can move to my benefit. Um, I control my perception of reality. I control my perception of the universe. So I wanted to put it more on her personal power, what she can do. I can overcome great obstacles. I can change the universe. All of that's true. It's not going to be shattered at some point, because if she focuses on what she controls, she can actually enact change in people, in her environment. But just saying, well, I'm positive it's all gonna work out for me. No, it's not. It's not. And then you're gonna be shattered. So I don't want you to set yourself up for failure. Does that make sense? So there's a balance here. There's a balance here. Um, we want to make sure we're creating or finding, like a detective, searching out the positives that we can cling on to, and focus, and choosing to focus on those. Although there could be 10 negatives, we're finding the positive. This is a beautiful garden. There may be spiders. I can acknowledge that. But at the moment, there's no spiders on me. So I am not in immediate danger. So therefore, I will focus on the beautiful flowers while I have the chance. I'm going to focus on what Rachel does for me while it's happening. I'm going to focus on all the good that my husband brings to the family while he's bringing it. I'm going to focus on all the good my wife does for me while she's doing it. I'm going to focus on my time with these children while I have them while they're kids. Making sense? We're finding the positive, we're holding on to that.